Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Marketing Legos Thought Leader Interview. My name is Harshit, and I'm the Director of Business Alliances of two brilliant marketing SaaS tools, RankWatch and WebSignals. And my today's special guest is highly experienced digital marketing and analytics expert, founder and CEO of marketing agency Optimize. Abdo, a big welcome to you, buddy. I'm so happy to host you today.
Thank you, Harshit. It's good to be here with you.
Perfect. Abdo, let's talk about your journey, man. How were you like as a child, and how you got to where you are today, and now running your own marketing agency?
Yeah, I grew up in Lebanon, in the mountains of Lebanon as a kid. I'd say I was a shy, geeky, nerdy kid. I really liked math and physics and computers at the time. And I also liked sports, more individual sports. I'd say I did martial arts at a young age. Uh, and yeah, worked my way up. I got my black belt. Recently, I passed my third dan. So yeah, I'd say individual sports, lots of analytical subjects, problem solving. That's been really my journey as a kid and still growing up. I think while growing up and becoming a business owner, I became less shy and probably switched from introverted to a little bit more extroverted, or I still feel like I'm in between the two.
Let's talk about bit about your professional journey as well after your college from Canada, after your graduation. How exactly your professional journey got started? And the most important thing, like what basically gave you that kick to start your own agency?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I moved from Lebanon when I was 17 years old. Uh, I applied for universities. I got accepted and did a computer science degree and a business minor. And worked for a few companies. I worked in-house and at agencies, multiple agencies and multiple brands for 10 years before really having the courage to start Webtimize, my digital agency, out of my apartment. So it took a lot of experience and really passion and knowledge and courage to really start a business. You're jumping into the unknown, right? I didn't have any investments. I didn't have a ton of cash. I had saved up over the 10 years of employment. But I said, "Oh, I feel like I'm prepared." I did it, and quickly from one client to the other, it grew organically. Referrals, word of mouth. You build a reputation, a network of people that you work with over the years. And within 6 months, I was like, okay, I can rent an office and take this more seriously. And we rented an office. We were 4 people or 5 people at the time. And fast forward 4.5 years, we're a team of 30 now. And we service 50 plus clients on an ongoing basis.
And let's talk about the core service offering of your agency. Like what all good work do you guys do now?
Mainly paid media, so Google Ads, Facebook ads, or Meta now after rebrand. TikTok more recently. We do programmatic media buys on DV360 and CM360. LinkedIn for B2B. We do some Pinterest. We've dabbled with Snapchat. So pretty much anything digital media, we do that. So that's, I'd say, 60 to 70% of our business. And then we have about 30% in SEO. And the remaining 10% is around analytics, some web development, email marketing, and design for the smaller clients that need like a full service and don't want to work with multiple agencies at the same time.
Gotcha. And Atul, like which particular niche do you enjoy working more? Is it SEO? Is it PPC that you enjoy working on more, or any other marketing
Specifics.
niche?
Yeah, I'd say over the years, almost 15 years in the industry, you become well rounded and the benefits of all those channels. I wouldn't say one is better than the other. I think they all work well together and
Yeah.
all businesses need these channels. So I wouldn't say I have a preference, but I think they're all important. We have to give them the attention that they need to service better the clients because focused more on paid media, you're putting all your eggs in one basket, and that could actually hurt the business in the long run, right? You could be investing a lot of money and you end up paying what 25, 30% of your revenue into paid media. That's not healthy. You want to really be well balanced as a business.
That's true. That's true. I was asking like more or less on a personal level, like what do you enjoy learning and implementing? I know in today's world, definitely omni-channel is the need, right? Because your audience is everywhere and you want to touch base at most level possible, right? Like as a personal preference than anything. Like I personally enjoy SEO a lot. Even though I have no grudges with PPC, I love that as well. But my personal preference is SEO. So anything like that with you?
Yeah, frankly, whatever brings good results. I honestly love both. Really personally, I really love SEO. I really love PPC. You know that they both have pros and cons. I look at the end result from the channel. I enjoyed both. There was I originally started with SEO only, so I'd say at some point I was more focused on SEO. But as paid media started developing and growing, it had more attention. And with the evolution over time, when Google started taking away all the keywords on the SEO sites, right? Like I've seen that evolution. So naturally, we had to really become stronger and better and adapt to the paid media side because it became so important and so diverse, and you had more control than SEO. But again, like I wouldn't say I have a preference because I really enjoy working on both. Yeah.
And let's talk about who's an ideal fit for your agency and who is it like from customer point of view. Is there any specific industry that you get into or
I'd say we're strong in e-commerce. Naturally, because I worked in e-commerce in-house, I worked for big brands. Essence is a big story out of Montreal. I started with them when we were a team of 15 back in 2010. Today, it's a thousand plus employees. Don't quote me on it, probably more. And they're doing really well. I was there for 4 years. I worked for Beyond the Rack, also a strong story at some point in Montreal before things didn't go so well and the company sold. So naturally, my network was really in the e-commerce space. So any business that is starting has a lot of potential or established, ideally like established brands that do over 1 million online in online sales. That would be like the ideal customer profile.
gotcha? Gotcha. And how exactly the client onboarding and the first 30 days look like? What processes do you have?
Yeah, the first step is getting access to all their platforms, right? Going through that. And the next step is really checking the setup of all these platforms. Are they tracking properly? Do they have the pixels in place? Do they have a container tag like GTM that consolidates all those pixels in place? Are the triggers firing properly? And then the reports, what kind of reporting do they have? Most of the time, we need to build reports, automate some reports. And internally now we're extracting data into BigQuery, Google BigQuery, and then visualizing it on Data Studio. And the clients really love that because they become self-sufficient. You customize the report to them from multiple data sources. You put it into one place, to that data warehouse, and then you visualize it via Data Studio, and the client can change the dates range and see exactly what's going on. And we can customize to the client based on what they need to see. As long as we have access to that data sources, use the APIs, dump it in, and then output via Data Studio.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And any specific client management system you have in place for like timely communicating with the clients and anything that you use on those lines?
Yes, Slack has been like a common tool internally that we use. A lot of clients are on Slack, so it makes things easier. Communicating with the client, we internally communicate with Slack as well. We use ClickUp for project management. What else? We're on Google Workspace as well. That simplifies a lot of things.
Uh,
Yeah.
Perfect. And what's anything specific that you're doing for client retention? Because I've seen in the industry, when you offer service and especially in the agency environment, the churn rate is always like a problem for the agency owners. Any specific programs you have for customer retention altogether?
Yeah. I'd say giving a good service to the client, being really, yeah, truthful to yourself and to your client and operating with high integrity is the best way for client retention. And that served us pretty well because you give a good service and the client would refer you more business, right? They come across their businesses, their business owners are always meeting other business owners and most of the
Good
time I'd
point.
say,
Lot of mouth for you as
yeah, yeah, I would say 9 out of 10 times a happy customer is going to refer you at least one customer throughout the life cycle.
that's true. That's true. Let's talk about some of the common mistakes that you see while boarding a new client, and that must have been done previously when it comes to the Google app setup and or conversion or anything on those.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, we often see tracking isn't well set up. Sometimes we see clients have two conversion tags in place or two sources, like they're probably importing the transaction event from Google Analytics and a G tag event for transactions. So double counting. This is a classic mistake that we see. We don't know if it was done by mistake or intentionally just to increase the amount of revenue for a client, whether it's done by agencies or in-house. That's a common one that we see. Another big one, we see it less and less now. I think there's a shift and clients are more savvy than they used to be, is where the agency owns the Google Ads account and they won't give ownership of that account to the client.
What's
So you have to
I
start.
know a lot of agencies still do it.
Yeah, we're seeing it less and less. I think clients are becoming smarter. And I think the old model of not being transparent with the client is vanishing. And I think some agencies are also suffering because of that. For a long time, they weren't very transparent with their clients, and it's actually hurting them. It served us pretty well because we were always looking out for the client and never try to circumvent the client or try to hide any stuff from the client. We were always like operating with full transparency, high integrity, and keeping the client interests first.
And I've also seen this particular model in one more vertical website design. A lot of agencies actually don't share their logins of or CMS or the hosting logins. Not entirely, like at least we can still control some aspect of it, but not entirely. So
Yes.
in a lot of countries, yeah, like Australia, in US,
Oh yeah.
and,
Okay.
you
Yeah. Yeah, it's an unfortunate, but like I think it's a short term, right? Like you can't sustain running a business without being transparent and giving full access to your client.
Me, I would perceive it like you don't have confidence in your business model and in your processes. You can retain the customer. These kind of problems was so irritating for them that they cannot get hold of their own property even after and something people shouldn't do. But unfortunately, not a clear word. So yeah, shit. Look, Abdul, because you're doing like both, you have the omni-channel approach, you do SEO as well as PPC. And to be honest, like in today's search landscape, both of them are like you cannot survive with just one thing. You need to focus your energies on both the things, right? How do you basically synergize between your PPC and your SEO effort? Are there any tips around that, please?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'd say if a business is starting out, they're starting out, they want to get a proof of concept. It's a startup. Our approach is do the basic SEO first, ensure that the site is crawlable and it can be indexed in Google, and do some PPC because you're going to guarantee traffic, right? You're only paying per click, at least on the Google Ads side, to pay on CPM on the social side. But put some money, get some traffic, establish some baselines. What's your conversion rate like? And do some models. If you take it a step further, can you sustain that same conversion rate? Like you can easily make projections and models based on the cost per click, your existing click through rate, if you're on a CPM basis, and keep iterating and try to improve those KPIs, right? Like you establish those KPIs. And if you have enough budget, ideally, if the client has enough budget, go full force, both SEO and paid if you can. But sometimes clients, they want results right away. And you're not going to give them great results with SEO within a month or two. With paid ads, within 30 days, you can have a pretty good idea whether this is actually going somewhere or not by looking at the metrics and the traffic sources, the campaigns, what they're yielding over time. So yeah, and then the businesses that are quite established,
Yeah.
and we usually recommend an SEO audit. If they have a good run rate, they're already doing over $1 million online in e-commerce sales, then if they've never done any SEO, like ideally do an SEO audit, identify the issues. We go through a checklist of items, 40 plus items. You check all that stuff. Most of the time, I'd say 99% of the time, there's always optimizations to be made. And so you present that to the client, the client appreciates, okay, that you've looked at it from multiple angles. These are some things that you can improve. The client sometimes they say, okay, we appreciate this. We're going to take care of it. Sometimes they say, oh, can you help us with the implementation? And we go on with them on a monthly retainer where we dedicate a certain number of hours to improve their SEO in general, their UX, content strategy, if they're missing some content that they want to rank for specific keywords. Then we get into link building after, right? This is like a step. Let's clean the house first before we get into external stuff. That's generally the approach on the SEO side. Paid media, if they're established, the assumption is that they already have a constant flow of paid media. You look at what percentage of revenue it is, like the cost in media, does it represent 5%, 10%, 20% or more? Well, can make recommendations there and see how they can optimize the balance of investment into media and the output in revenue. That's generally on the e-commerce side. B2B is different. We have some clients on the B2B side too. Obviously, it's more on the CPA side. If it's a software company, you're looking at booking demos, downloading white papers, webinars, looking at the CPA basis. What's the cost to acquire that lead? And then looking at the journey. If you have a platform in place, like a CRM, like HubSpot, we think it's one of the best for the B2B space. You look at the full cycle from acquiring that lead, becoming a marketing qualified lead, a sales qualified lead, then becoming a client, and then ideally becoming a champion that's going to refer you more clients after, and look at the ROI over time from that client.
Excellent. And when it comes to the implementation part, do you have developers in-house who take care of all of those technical resolving on client side and stuff?
Yeah. For the most part, we have people in-house. Sometimes we work with partners if we don't have the capacity or the bandwidth to handle in-house. We work with consultants, with other agencies that support. Ideally, we want to do as much as possible, but sometimes you have expertise that you don't have in-house. There's no harm to work with experts that are external too.
Let's talk more about ads. How do you basically measure the performance of ads? Which KPIs do you keep track of active leads? And how then your improvement process works? Please tell us about.
On the ad side, again, it starts with tracking. You have proper tracking in place. It's solid. We all use it as a source of truth, whether it's looking at the platform pixel, you're looking at GA to look at the overall, MER, the marketing efficiency ratio. You determine those main baselines. You have your source of truth. You establish that with the client, and you say these are the business objectives. Okay. And then you start testing, always testing and learning. You test different types of campaigns. There's always new betas coming out from Google, from Meta. And are we meeting that KPI? Yes or no? You keep reiterating and adjusting. You have your things that are working, keep doing that. The evergreen campaigns, keep doing those campaigns. You have your branded search, your non-branded search, your shopping if you're in e-commerce. You have your remarketing campaigns set up properly, DPAs and DABA on social. You have all those campaigns, and then you start adding new stuff like Performance Max that just came out. You test it, you test, learn, reiterate, adjust. If you can keep ideally 10% of your overall budget for experiments and not having a minimal ROI on that 10% of the budget, that would be a best case scenario. Some clients invest even more into experiments.
Abdul, since you work with like multiple channels, Google Ads is one, Facebook ads could be another, then programmatic, all of those. Are there any struggles with the attribution and basically calculating that accurately? And if there are, like, how do you basically overcome those situations?
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is a great question. With the shift recently happening around privacy, the cookieless browsers, iOS 14, all that stuff, it's obviously made it difficult for marketing. I'd say one thing for sure is that the client is still going to be able to see the top line revenue and the overall leads that are coming through. They can still see that. So internal reporting, whatever platform you're using, whether it's HubSpot for B2B or Shopify for e-commerce or Salesforce, Magento, whatever, you still know what the total revenue is at the end of the day and the number of clicks. So we're slowly shifting more and more towards an MDR focus where this is how much media you're investing and this is the overall output. Because things are becoming more and more complex to track, right? What we see today in Facebook isn't necessarily the truth for what we saw prior to iOS 14. And there's also obviously double counting between platforms, right? There's double count. Yeah. And
The challenge I feel is when you don't attribute correct, right? Then for you to take really intelligent marketing decision for that specific channel. That is a big hurdle, right?
Yep.
Big pain point, man.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. You have to look at it at multiple angles, right? You have the pixel or the floodlight tag that reports on that specific channel, right? And you have those other channels that aren't talking to each other, right? So there is duplication. If you're on 5 different channels, of course, there's an overlap between channels, but the customer is also appearing on all those channels. So as a brand, you want to make it frictionless. You want to show up for the client everywhere. So yes, there's duplication, but at the end of the day, look at the bottom line and always see what the percentage of media spend to your overall revenue is. And on a CPA basis, how many leads are you getting? And out of those leads that you're getting, how many of the leads are you closing, the close rate? And what's the revenue that is going to be generated from those leads that you're closing in the B2B side? And make those models. What's your profitability look like? And how much can you push it? The idea is if you want to grow the business, keep pushing it as long as you're breaking even or slightly profitable. And if you want to be maintain profitability, then you're more on the conservative side.
Yeah, that's true. I just thought of a situation like, you know what? Most of the brand do still, they basically leverage the agency for specific channels. If someone is good at writing SEO, they would outsource that particular operation. So that is agency. That was good with one, say, Facebook ads. So that we would do the second party. And the idea for brand is just to diversify risk and get the best expertise. But then again, like for those individual consultants and regions, it becomes a pain point that confusion again. Right. Because then there are tons of overlap. So yeah, that's something like maybe study the buyer journey and try to figure those out so that at least there is some good engine running which can actually help you attribute better. So that's again what remedy to this problem. Yeah. About just like you mentioned, you study the KPIs, whether it's matching, whether the ad is doing performing good, not. Then like one of the biggest factor to it is a landing page experience for the visitor. That helps. If that is great, definitely your conversion rate for that campaign will be like really bad, right? Any tips around that just to kind of improve your landing page experience and few tips around to increase the ad quality as
Yeah. It's all about relevance, right? The common marketing code that you see, target the customers with the right message at the right place at the right time. So if a customer is looking to buy, let's say, a red dress, you want to show an ad around red dress, right? And then take them to a page that has this red dress. And ideally, that the red dress has a proper description, proper photography, a video, even the right sizes. So the experience is frictionless and seamless for the customer. So she can go on that page and appreciate what's on that page. And the likelihood, if you have reviews, even making that experience seamless for the customer. So her confidence is high to buy that red dress on that site. And she may not buy it right away, right? Like she may leave and she's in the research phase. On average, they say people can check up to 9 sources before they buy something. She leaves, she gets retargeted. It's on her social media channel. Uh, so yeah, making that experience more, I'd say, engaging, helpful, useful, and it's becoming more and more visual for the customer. It's becoming an experience rather than click and buy.
yep, that's true.
Yeah.
Let's talk a bit about programmatic advertising campaign. If you can share a few tips to launch a successful campaign and any tool recommendation that you would do for a beginner on this field.
Yeah. We find programmatic works well for companies who are already established. We don't recommend programmatic media buys for startups, for people who have small budgets. Ideally, you have to have a fair amount of budget to jump on programmatic. And getting access to the proper platforms, they also cost a lot of money, right? Not everyone can have access to DV360 and CM360. And I was at Google Marketing Live this week, actually, in San Francisco. And they're calling that suite enterprise ads, right? It's for enterprise clients, right? If you're starting out, Google and Meta, it's a good start. But if you really want to take it a step further and go outside of the exchange, the Google Ads exchange, you don't want to be on more exchanges, then it's the place to be. Personally, we've tried other platforms. I personally really 360 or the GMP, the Google Marketing Platform, which is considered best in class compared to the others in the market. So there's plenty out there. I don't want to name any of them because I'm not really a fan of any compared to DV360 and CN. It may sound like I'm advertising for Google. We are partners with Google. We really enjoy our partnership with them and the platforms that they're doing and all the updates and the engineers behind the product development.
But
It's quite impressive. Yeah.
and what's the minimum budget for beginner to start using these?
I'd say to do programmatic and really make a difference, you need at least 10K to start. I'd say $10,000 a month. I'd say having 10K is like the bare minimum to start really making a difference with programmatic media price. There are platforms that charge less. They don't have minimums uh, and could take on anyone, but you may not see the right results and they don't have the proper technology for proper tracking as well. Like you'd see with the former DoubleClick product that it became a Google marketing platform.
But let's talk about one of the most successful case studies that you have had. It's been around 7 years of the agency business for you.
Yeah.
Sure, there must be one good, really great success story.
Yeah, there's a few. There's definitely a few. One, I would say, a Canadian shoes retailer. They're a national brand. They're close to have 80 stores now across Canada. They started with me many years ago. We're talking almost 7 years ago at another agency. And they started with a very small budget. They started something like 5K. And now we're talking millions a year now. That's a success story. And with them, what's nice with such clients that have proper targets, really strong at business, really established KPIs, you can continue to push to meet those KPIs. There's openness over time that they're open to try new things. They adopted new products that served us really well. For example, we started with them smart shopping and we saw amazing results in the very beginning before everybody else was on smart shopping, right? So with clients like that, you can definitely make a difference. And yeah, scale things up with new products, new betas, and really make a difference. But one thing the client gets used to great results when everybody else is on those new products. You can't maintain the same profitability and the same results. So we always have to keep innovating and suggesting new stuff and be at the forefront with the cutting edge technology on an ongoing basis so that clients are appreciating the service from an agency and justify ourselves as agencies. You have to be on top of it all the time at the cutting edge, or else you'll fail as an agency, right?
Whatever you're doing today, definitely will not work after a year on tops. So I completely agree with you. You need to keep on innovating. You need to keep on seeing basically new opportunities to deliver best outcome.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And any horror story and lesson that you from that these past 7 years.
Horror stories. I think we've been fortunate not to have something like really bad. Something's break. I wouldn't call it a horror story, but sometimes you have too much traffic on a site, Black Friday, and the site breaks. You may call it a horror story, but there's too much success. It can hurt you, right? The infrastructure of a business has to be well set up to handle business. Like sometimes if you want to break a business, do amazing marketing for that business. You may break that business because the business may not be able to handle that demand, right?
Yeah, they might not have systems in place to handle it altogether
Yeah.
or resources to actually fulfill.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And we've seen it a lot throughout the pandemic, right? Staff issues, shipping issues. We've seen a lot of, I don't know if you want to call it the horror stories, but definitely like issues like business roadblocks.
I won't even call horror story. I know from a business point of view, excluding digital marketing agencies and all the whole digital marketing niche, we actually saw boom. At least most of them, which are not like very industry limited, say just marketing, hospitality industry and stuff like that. But anyone who was doing broad and tapping e-commerce specifically, they saw great boom, to be honest. Good revenue, good increase in even the remote employees, all of that thing did happen. But yeah, and I've been like, in fact, for me as well, I've been fortunate enough to be part of an industry which didn't see that decline at all. And I hope like the same works for you as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect. I think Abdul, we're coming to an end here, and I would like to have a quick rapid fire. Are you ready for that?
Sure. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
So one word answers.
yeah, could be one word, could be multiple words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
What's something new happening professionally in your life? Like,
Data science. I think we're really focused more on data science. Uh, yeah.
at what age do you want to retire?
I don't know. I don't know. I can't answer this question. It all depends on how things evolve.
Right? What's something you can eat for a week straight?
Salad,
What did you dream of becoming when you were a kid?
an engineer, electrical engineer. I think I really liked electricity. Yeah, but it never happened.
Was your inspiration and why?
I have many inspirations. There's too many to
Yeah.
name. Yeah,
Any one of your favorites?
there's many good ones. There's really good ones.
Uh,
I saw for the first time Malcolm Gladwell speak. He's a bestseller author from New York. I saw him speak this week, and he was quite an inspiration. So he's the first that comes to mind now.
right. And what is your last Google search?
Can't remember. Maybe the weather this morning. It was raining.
Thank you
Yeah,
so much, Abdul, for all the wisdom, all the tips. Really appreciate your time. Thank you so
my pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me. That feels an honor to be. I don't know how you guys found me, but I appreciate you reaching out, and I hope I delivered to your expectations today.
It was a brilliant session, man. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Harshid. Have an amazing evening.